So, Matthias, welcome to the Future Work Forum podcast. You've been working for, at least the last 6 months on this subject of middle management, probably a lot longer. Uh,
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 I've been a middle manager myself for many years, so that's why
okay,
this
so this
was
is
part
based
one.
on based on practical knowledge as well as theory and research. But I guess one thing you've done is collect together the views of many of the different partners from the Future Work Forum. Is there a common theme that's come out between all of them?
I think one thing is all of them said, "Oh wow, I think we missed something here." So we took it kind of for granted. There are middle managers. Some find them useful, some find them, let's say, yeah, at least a stumbling stone, a blocker, the pedal push, the pedal, uh, brake pedal pushers, these kind of things. But uh, but I think all of them said, "Oh, it's time we have to think about it." And what I did also, I looked into the scientific world, so what has been researched in this area, and it's not much. So it's different aspects, of course. So in terms of leadership, what do we have to do in terms of, but with a specific focus on middle management, there is not a lot of articles and things around.
No, and I guess now's a good time with a lot of organizational change happening, AI perhaps driving
Yeah.
some of it. Uh, so, is there a future for middle management?
I would say that there is no future of the old for the old middle management, but there's a future of a layer of a group of today we would call them influencers in the company, which could or needs to be taken over by somebody. And the today's middle managers, that would be the best fit. So if we can transform them into these new roles, which are desperately needed in companies, then this could be a good thing. So basically, we have to discuss three topics. One is what will be the key profiles of the middle management 2.0. Uh, Second is how can we train them? So that means once we recruit younger people and make them walk into the management level as such, what is needed in terms of education, in terms of practice, in terms of exchange. And third question is also very important. What do we do with those who are already middle managers? This is a lot, it's a big group. So what do we do with them? And some of those will be easily capable to changing and taking this new role. Uh, some others will have difficulties, and there are some where we have to find a different solution. That means we have to get kind of completely new roles for them, put them into other positions as specialists or wherever. But I think there's a big construction site at the moment.
Okay, let's take those three things in order. So, the first one you said was kind of the profile of the new middle
Yeah.
manager. How does that differ from the old profile?
The very old profile was information transmitting. So that means from the very top, there's something which everybody should know. And then there were the ones to provide, the rollout, the avalanche effect of spreading information. And on the other hand, also collecting information from the front line, from the blue collar, and transform it into something which is readable for top management. So kind of let's say a messenger function. Then they were upgraded into a power function. So you have to not only convey messages, you have also to make sure that what the management wants strategically has been implemented. So implementing execution was the name of the game. So the executors, cost cutters, executors, particularly keeping personnel costs low, these kind of things. And then um, I think the good thing about middle management was it kept organizations stable. Everybody was clear. So if I have to discuss, or if I want you as a colleague to do something, I had to ask my boss asked your boss, and so, and this was a kind of a stable thing. The next level up knew exactly what happened. They were more or less in control of what happened, so cost-wise, process-wise, and these kind of things. But the downside of this is it makes organizations slow. So everything has been pushed upwards, discussed, decided, comes down. And also what I had an interesting discussion with the CEO of a retail company here in Switzerland, and he said, I looked our processes up and I thought, okay, what happens? We want to invest something. So we asked the concrete example was a decoration in the shop windows. And we have a lady, and she's responsible for decoration. So she's has the biggest, the greatest knowledge of this in the entire company. But we wanted to invest, an investment, 500,000 Swiss francs, a lot for this small company. And then the typical way is she thinks about it, she makes a proposal, checks it, brings the proposal to the executive team discusses it, decides, and then it gets implemented. This is the old style process. And I said, what happens in reality is the best expert we have prepares something, and the people in the room who decide are less expert than this. So the decision has been made on a level where the competence is lower than where the answer and the decision is needed. And we have to change this. We have to bring the decision power to exactly where it's needed and where the expertise is the biggest. And though they changed a lot in the company, and this gave also to me food for thought. Okay, isn't this reality that the decisions are being taken where the power is the greatest, but the knowledge and the expertise is not the greatest? And this requires the level in between. Okay, we need very strategic things need to be also in the future decided at the very top. But what we do in between, is it, I would call it more a moderation function, somebody who is able to network, connect the dots, thinking about, okay, here's a proposal. The lady in charge of the decoration, she has an idea, and somebody helps her to find the right partners to discuss it. So discuss with the procurement guy, discuss with sales, discuss with legal, and somebody needs to be the facilitator to make the decisions on the expert level much smoother, better, and faster.
So what you're doing is describing there a kind of a networked organization versus a
Yeah,
hierarchical.
this is the fact. So I think, uh, okay, most organizations will keep this hierarchical structure theoretically for another couple of years. But what happens in reality is they need to make sure that the silos are being turned down, and so the collaboration across those silos in hierarchical organizations need to be improved. And this is what I hear everywhere. All the companies, there's not a single company who told me in the last couple of years, I love our silos, and I love this ego thinking, backyard protecting things. And so everybody wants to get rid of the silos. And yeah, and this is leads then to a more network style organization, of course.
Okay, so it's almost like we're changing from middle managers being communicators up and down to
Mhm.
being good team workers, good sideways communication, cutting
Yeah,
across.
connectors, facilitators. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Other skills that you would expect the new version of a middle manager to have that the older ones don't? You talked about developing the
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah, again, so we move from a task-based organization to a skill-based organization. So middle managers need to know exactly which skills are available. And I'm not talking about whether our accountant is skilled to be accountant. So, but I think about, I'm talking about what other skills may he have? Do we have somebody in procurement who is also good in sales, or do we have somebody who has a talent in negotiating? So, and having a clue what kinds of skills and talents we have in the company, that will make the difference. Because in the I use the following picture. In the old times, we had a job description. So we wrote it on paper and think this is engraved in stone, and then we put it out to the market and we looked for somebody or looked for applications, and then we took the one who we thought fits the requirement and the job profile best. So first profile, then man. Now it's different. So we have people. We have people available in the company. We are attractive for a certain kind of people. And then we have tasks. And then we look into who we have and who of those we have could do task A, B, C, D, E best. So allocate tasks to people, not people to tasks. So it's a real different approach, thinking about who do I have and not what do I have. And for this, we need more people capability, people management, people development capability, and also interest. You know, I don't think you need to like people if you're a manager. At least not like everybody, but you have to be interested in people. So if you think, oh no, this is this is social, this is weak, this is soft, I don't like this, then you shouldn't be a middle manager. Middle manager should be very interested in other people.
Okay, so we're saying that in terms of skills, being sensitive to other people's people, basically people management skills, more so than the technical skills.
Exactly, and beyond the concrete job. So if I so in until today, most managers think I have to figure out. I have an accountant. How good is he in accounting? I have a sales guy. How good is he in sales? That was enough. But now we're saying, okay, I have a human being. What is he or she best in? Is it really sales? Okay, then we put him in sales. But if he's also very talented in negotiating, so maybe find a function where he can also make use of his negotiation skills.
Okay. Do you see that AI is also playing a role in this? That
Yeah.
some of the mechanical communication stuff now is being done
Yeah.
by technology, which makes the middle manager even more needed for the people coordination.
Exactly, needed and available, because you don't have to spend so much time in drafting emails, drafting communication things. It's been done. Uh, I don't think it's much better than before, but at least it's easier. You can take the normal things away, a handbook or a whatever, a policy. Nobody would think about writing a policy up, word by word with your own thing. You give it up and say, this is what I want, and AI does you a policy and you just distribute it. These kind of things will change. So maybe mainly the boring parts of information and communication has been taken away. And this frees up capacity for, let's say, the much more value generating things.
But this, of course, causes a problem for career paths in organizations. People progress up the hierarchy, they get more status, paid more,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and so on. What you're describing is a much flatter kind of organization.
Yeah, yeah,
And there are obviously those that are extreme in terms of having delegated everything to self-managed teams and so on.
yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I know those. And this is something which doesn't work for the majority of companies.
because
But
this, I guess, is the problem, which is changing from a big established hierarchy to something even a bit more networked must be very difficult because it goes against the practices, the embedded culture in an organization.
yeah, and the biggest obstacle is managers lose power.
Okay.
status, reputation. And nobody wants
Well,
to lose. Are the three things which I want to lose last.
well, also, don't want to lose my job, which I guess is
Yeah.
what's happening. Do you
Yeah.
see a lot of, I mean, never mind the role changing, but the numbers changing as well in terms of organizations not needing so many middle managers?
I don't think there will be a big difference in numbers. It depends on which organization I have. So if I want to have a very developing organization, a flexible organization who is able to maneuver, steer, make curves, and these kind of things. So the more flexible the organization is, the more capacity I need on this level, which we used to call middle managers before. We have to find a new title for them.
Do you have an idea what we do call them? They're not they're not middle because that implies a
But
hierarchy, and
yeah,
they're
it's
not
not
managers
middle.
because they're not managing in the traditional sense. We need something completely new. Yes,
Yeah, that's true. Actually, they're kind of influencers, they're
yeah.
moderators, they
They're coaches in a way.
coaches,
Yeah, you see, just
facilitators.
companies, flat organizations like Buurtzorg in Holland.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have very little management, but they do have people who are coaches who kind of keep
yeah.
an eye on how the self-managed teams work.
Yeah, and there are companies very successful. Let's look at VZ, Tom van der Lubbe also in the Netherlands. Uh, is very successful, but it can be also very painful in companies. So it's not so if you want to do it, you have to do it really. And so if then the dark clouds are coming up and say, okay, now we go back to the old style management, and once the sun shines, then we take the other things out. So it's not a sunshine way to manage a company. And this is why you have to think twice, three times, four times before you implement it, because I would say it's not reversible, really, without a big harm to the company. But I don't think everybody needs to be this kind of organization like Buurtzorg and VC. This is something for a very small number of companies. I wouldn't guess a percentage, but it's low.
Yeah.
And but for the others, they need to find also ways to manage their companies more flexible, at least faster. They need to decide much faster. And the steeper the hierarchy, the slower the decision has been made. This is clear. So that means more horizontal. And they need people who are able to maneuver in this. So in the last couple of years, we were running after the term agile. Everything needs to be agile. I mean, then there was a new profession created, the agile coaches. Uh, there are still many people around. So if you look at LinkedIn profiles, you have a big number of agile coaches. So I think we should be careful not to create another agile coach term for those people we need, because this was a kind of a fashion thing. Everybody knew it from the beginning. So agile will accompany us for a couple of years, and it's done like new work. Everybody was talking about new work a couple of years ago. Uh, Officially, the Institute for the Future in Germany, they call it now the post-new work era. So
Yeah.
really ridiculous, but it's a fact. So once we create a term, then it needs to be something not a hip, fancy thing, but something which describes what we expect from those people.
Yeah. But meanwhile, of course, the existing leaders of large organizations in particular, but any traditional hierarchical organization, it's a bit like asking turkeys to vote for Christmas in terms of they're going to lose their power.
Yeah.
And so, how can I guess the market ultimately will dictate? I guess because if these new, more agile organizations are uh, better at winning over the market, whatever market they're in, I guess eventually
Mhm.
they will succeed where others fail. But that's going to take a long time. Do you
Mhm.
see any move to influence the middle managers more? Any way of making
Yeah.
this change happen, or are we just up against an entrenched? We just got to wait for a whole generation of leaders to retire, get out of the way, for the Gen Zs and the rest to come through with new
This
ideas.
this this is not possible, and also we can wait very long. Uh, if you want the Gen Z to move into something, we need to describe what this it is.
Uh-huh.
And and you know, uh, if the current middle managers find out what they want from us, what's been invented is bad for us, so we lose, then we will have enemies. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to be on the loser side. So this is why before we start implementing it, we have to think about it. We have to create it, describe it. But before we implement it, we have to think about what can we give them in exchange. So I take away your formal power of being a department head or vice president or something. I take this away. But here's what I give you instead. So here's what you get in exchange for it. And there we need to have smart answers.
Is
And
is this the
one of
way
the
where
answers is
I guess is this
one of
where
the
the
answers
idea
is
of
salary.
dual career paths comes in?
Yeah, maybe you have to move away from the career path idea. So it's a development thing. You have to define develop is not only up. So if I don't move the ladder at least one stair up, one step up, it's not a career. So careers can be horizontal. Uh, so I develop in learning something, in becoming a better influencer, uh, a more powerful influencer. So the the understanding of career is always upwards. That needs to be changed, but also changed not means we don't have to take it away and say, okay, that's life in a big city. There is nothing like this in the future. We have to create something new. And you know, when we look at banks, for instance, they have specialists who make more money than the C level.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because they make a lot of money for the customers, and they are well paid. So, or if we look at IBM, IBM is a classical example. They were the first ones actually in the 60s, so long time ago. First ones to create this kind of a specialist career. So don't look at the managers, and management is okay. If we need skilled people to do management tasks, it's okay. But you can also be a great employee and earn a lot of money if you're a specialist. And then they created the same thing. So in management career, it's clear you are a team leader, department head, vice president, senior vice president. You have these terms, these titles. And they created the same thing for the specialist also. So specialist, senior specialist. And the highest grade you can get as a specialist without any leadership function is IBM fellow.
Oh yeah.
And a couple of years when I had this in a piece of research, uh, I found out they had 250,000 employees at IBM, and 71 out of the 250,000 were those IBM fellows. So the highest rank. IBM fellow is the best you get. I found out 12 out of those 71 were Nobel Prize winners. So, and then you know the reputation they have. So if the CEO comes to the IBM lab here in Zurich, they will be friendly to him, but the red carpet will be a little bit thicker if one of those uh, gurus comes, because a CEO is not easy, but is replaceable. But a Nobel Prize winner, this is really difficult. So it's just clear this doesn't apply to to many companies. But again, we need to find a way to give recognition to those who are not leading people.
Yeah, I guess this means a bit of a revolution in reward systems, compensation benefits,
Exactly.
and so on. And I guess a recognition by the HR function
Yeah.
that some of the traditional structural HR policies, practices, comp and benefits, things like that
Hmm.
are up in the air again.
Yeah.
Do you see
Yeah.
HR as being on this case, or are they still supporting the hierarchies?
Most of them do, because it's how they're structured as well. On the other hand, it's difficult. You know, if a colleague of mine who was the head of HR for Swisscom, the Swiss telecommunication company, uh, he he transformed HR into a very agile, modern, flexible network organization. And it worked, but nobody could talk to them any longer. So because the others were still in the old style, they said, hey, what do we need to do? Who is our partner? So it was difficult. So that means HR cannot be the front runner in experimenting with new forms of organization, but they have to explain and help the others to get there. So I'm talking about HR moving from a administrative function, which is still needed, if salaries are not being paid on time correctly, this is bad. But at the same time, I call it an HR architecture. And HR architecture means um, we have a finance architecture in each company. This is clear. We have budgets, we have rules, we have things, and everybody's trained. So when we send people to a general management training or top management training, most part of the training is economics. It's finance, it's procurement, it's controlling, and this is good. But HR is very small. I'm teaching in some of those executive MBA programs, and just one of them I just learned. Uh, we had they have I think 40 around 40 teaches 40 days with lectures physically, and three of them are HR. And then they said, maybe we cut it down to two. So, this is great. This will not work, but if you think this is the way, but we are used to the finance architecture. Now we need an HR architecture. So if we delegate the entire people thing to HR and think they're doing it for us, they can do some interesting and valuable services. But the thinking, I'm responsible for people, needs to be put into the head of managers much deeper. And this, again, here we come to the middle management role. So if middle managers play an interesting role in managing people and caring for people and finding out about their talents, this skill-based organization thing. This cannot be delegated to HR. HR can be a facility, can help. And with AI support, they can provide a lot of very valuable tools for management. But there needs to be a thinking in terms of finance is one thing, and people are the other thing is equally important.
Okay, but we're saying that the middle manager in the future has got to be much more people orientated, people centered, and so on. Is this something
Okay.
that can be trained? Is this something that
Yeah.
the current middle manager can be
Yeah.
converted, or is it a fundamental aspect of personality? We have the wrong people in the job at the moment, and need to get rid of them and replace them with more
Yeah.
people
For
orientated.
some, yeah, we have some. Sure, we have some who should have never been promoted to people leaders. They do an awful job, but we also have people who should never take over a financial position because they're really bad in forecasting, in numbers and statistics. This is the way the world is. But if we agree on a new format, a new setup, a new architecture of a company, then it's clear we need both. So we need people. One half of the brain is finance, and the other is HR. And so I know one company. It's a small company, 150 people working there. It's the financial authority of the Principality of Liechtenstein. So they control and monitor the financial market there. 150 people, and they have one who is in charge for finance and HR. He's basically the resource manager. He's managing the financial and the human resources, and I think this is an interesting thing. Uh, so many colleagues are telling me this is not possible. There is nobody on earth who is competent in both. Okay, then we have find ways of collaborating. If that's reality and it's not enough, we don't have enough people who are competent in both areas, then we have to find co-leads, collaboration teams, tandems who can do this. But we need to take both very seriously.
Okay, but I guess that's a good thing for the future. We will be developing people more broadly as they come up
Yeah,
to the organization, because they won't be in the stovepipe in the same way as the
yeah,
past. So the broader skills will naturally
yeah,
get developed.
yeah,
And I think if you add finance, HR, and technology to that as
yeah,
well, it's resource management.
yeah.
Work gets done in one way or another. Well, we're running out of time now, so just a final word from you about: are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future of middle management?
I've been born as an optimist, and I don't think I should change this. No, there's reason to believe we were able to do this, but the change uh, how a company will be run is I expect it to be deeper, stronger, harder than all the changes we have seen before. So there was looking back, it was more incremental steps which we did. But now we think we have a kind of a leapfrog thing. So we have to do a quantum leap in terms of understanding how organizations work and how people can be managed in organizations. Uh, and this is important. And what we also need to do, and this is what we organize in Switzerland in the 2nd and 3rd of July, we need to think about good work, and not only from a standpoint of the the white collars, but also the blue collars. So nobody thinks about them. So we think about home office, we think about flexible working, we think about team structures and all of this. But if I look out of the window, here's a construction site. They don't have a clue what home office is, and this is clear. Somebody who is a carpenter, a driller, or whatever, a concrete worker, they can't do it in home office. But it's not the question home office or no home office. It's the question how do we treat people? How serious do we take them? How do we care for people? And how do we make sure that we can retain the best people? Because the cost of fluctuation, the cost of attrition is so enormously high. So we have to do something.
Yeah. So I can look forward to the middle manager in a construction company being
Yeah,
somebody who cares for the people on that building site next to you, and as a
yeah,
result, ends up with a better building because the people are more motivated, more engaged, and so on.
yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Yeah, no, this exactly as a summary, that's what also all the partners, and I loved their inputs to the paper. That's the common denominator. They say we have to take people much more seriously. And that doesn't mean, caring and being nice to them. It means taking them seriously as human beings and looking into their skills and capabilities and making sure that everybody can develop his or her potential in the company. And this is basically where the middle managers can play an important role.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matthias. That's a good way to end on, being positive about the future for the new role of middle management. Thank you very much. It's been an interesting discussion.